Well, hey there, it's Jennie Wallach in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm super excited to talk with my new friend, Gretchen Kingma, out of St. Louis, Missouri. I feel like I know Gretchen because I've been stalking her on the Instagram for a really long time, loving everything that she's doing, and I know you're going to love it too. So thanks for hanging out and joining me on this episode of Agent Success Secrets. Now, Gretchen, we've become BFFs in the last, for 30 minutes of getting to know each other. So, since I know you so well, not everyone else does. So, say who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny, for having me. I feel like I know you as well, so it is mutual. And I am Gretchen Kingma in St. Louis, Missouri. I am an occupational therapist by trade that pivoted into the housing slash real estate space about 8 years ago. And how that came about is I worked with seniors in both a adult rehab setting as well as a senior living setting. So if you don't know what occupational therapy is, just a very quick overview, we help people after a major life change, injury, or illness do the things that they want and need to do. So very similar to physical therapy, but a little bit more holistic from a day-to-day routine. So with that being said, it's very strenuous. Wheelchair users that can't use their bodies, you have to pick them up, you have to transfer them, you have to help them in the bathroom, in the shower, et cetera, et cetera. I got burnt out pretty quickly, not from the patient care, but from the bureaucracy of healthcare. And I went into that career with a helping mindset. I've always wanted to help people, but nobody tells you about the business of Medicare, the business of healthcare. And so I became very jaded very quickly because I didn't get to care for people. I was writing notes and doing whatever the insurance company wanted me to do. So had a baby who's almost 8 years old. And while on maternity leave, I had this awakening that if my job as an OT is to help people stay in the homes that they love, why are more OTs not realtors? And that's how I got into real estate. So went and told the therapy director, I'll see you in 12 weeks. Went home and told my husband, I am never going back there. We have maternity leave to figure it out. Got licensed while at home with a newborn.
Well, I love your backstory. And so you already were educated in the senior and the aging adults that we have in our lives. And that's who we get to help all the time in real estate. And you just had this aha moment of this is what I am called to do. But you also had a personal experience that really, really triggered you to get very clear on your niche and your group of people that you are just succeeding at a high level of servicing.
Yeah, so that personal experience is not a glamorous one and a trigger warning for anybody that has cancer in their family. But launching my business in 2018, like I said, I knew I wanted to help seniors, but I was kind of a secret agent. I wanted to help everyone. So in my marketing and my social media, I was doing first-time home buyer seminars. I was doing senior living seminars. I was door knocking. I was doing all the things because I was a new agent and I needed the business. And then 2020, being the year that it was for everyone, decided to serve us up a stage 4 cancer diagnosis for my father. And he was 57 at the time. He died 59. He died when he was 59 in 2022. And in 2022, towards the middle of the year, I stopped all real estate and I decided I was going to stay home with him because my mom was still working and I had this healthcare background. So I had that. I mean, it is a privilege to be able to just stop everything and be the primary caregiver and spend the rest of the days with dad. And he passed in late November of 2022. And so in 2023, I had to relaunch myself, relaunch my real estate business. And it was crazy to me that the only thing I did consistently in 2022 was post on social media. And when I made that back in business post, business just picked up. It was like nothing ever happened. And so that's why I'm so passionate about showing up on social media and then having that personal experience in that 2020 to 2022 timeframe where I had to help my family downsize out of necessity. We had 3 full-size dumpsters that we were just pouring mom and dad's stuff into because we didn't have a plan. It really fueled my fire to give people better resources and educate people on how important a plan is for the future.
So you got really clear. Here's who I am going to help. And so, how did that change, and what exactly was your plan and your strategy around it?
So, as I mentioned, my plan and strategy before was merely just I got to touch this many people 36 times. It's what the MREA says. I'm just going to do it. And then my strategy shifted to I did some coaching and I really loved the niche marketing strategy. So knowing that who we want and like and enjoy serving as our niche is 90%, that's a made up statistic, but majority of the time, a former version of yourself. I decided that my strategy was going to be to hang out with the people that I liked and loved and just educate them on my experience, educate them on the OT, occupational therapy information that I had. And so I just started making content for the middle-aged mom who's also the eldest adult daughter and managed young kids and aging adults. And it turned into referrals from my friends of their parents because they trust their daughter
Wow.
and I'm female. If I was a male, I don't know what my strategy would have been, but it is the eldest adult daughter statistically that makes the decisions for mom and dad. And so I just started marketing to them. My events, my in-person events are things that middle-aged moms like. I do wine tastings, I do yoga, but my niche is seniors. So that is my strategy.
I think that I just realized something is, some people might go about this and go, well, I'm going to make content to help aging adults and seniors, downsizers, boomers. But you were really clear of, I'm helping the one that's going to help them. I want to,
Mhm.
my messaging, because some would maybe think, well, those people aren't on Instagram. How are they going to find
Mhm.
you? And so that is a really good aha that I just had as you're speaking to you created your avatar of what
Yeah.
person looks like. So how has that helped your business? Now, getting back to this is a real estate conversation. You got clear on who you were going to help and then the strategy, which is called Instagram for you mostly. And so how has business uh, come through all of that?
One thing that I haven't quantified and I should is that I do know of my listing appointments in the last 16 months, I'm 100%. And the reason is it's referrals from their loved one. So that's one tangible way that my business has changed is that it's more of the come list me's because my daughter told me I should work with this person, or my OT in the hospital who I trusted because they got me back home told me before I move, I need to talk to you. So the fact that I'm getting referrals from that caregiver type person has increased my conversion rate on listing appointments completely. And then from year over year, 2024 into 2023 into 2024, my business was up 148% at one point, and my market center sent me a text. They have the broker metrics and they're looking at it all the time. Did you know your business is up? And I was like, I knew it was up. I didn't know it was up that much. And I think it's just I don't I truly feel that being on social media every single day is more effective than what my call schedule was before. And I did make the calls. I did the DT2, whatever it's called. I did all the things, but my business took off once I showed up on social media daily.
It's just the clarity of it, right? Of really
Mhm.
being clear about who your audience is. I love it. And I love following you because you are speaking to, well, me. So, but I want to go into the details now because a lot of us know that we should do video in our business. If you've been to any of the latest real estate conferences or taken a training class, we know we need to get on the video, be a real person, whatever platform you choose, but you got to do it. So give us some of your social media tips that everyone could implement almost immediately.
So the number one is that nobody wants to hear it, but you have to just do it. I think Nike has the most brilliant brand ever
Right.
because we all get in our way. Like talking to you right now, I see that I need to go back to my orthodontist and I need to redo this because my teeth aren't perfectly straight and I know that this tooth is fake. And like those are the things we are telling ourselves. You didn't notice any of those
Now
things.
I'm looking at your teeth.
Yeah. Because everybody just we're all our own critics. So I am such a proponent of imperfect action trumps perfect action every single, or perfect inaction every single day. And so I just do it and I have no shame. And I use those insights. So if you are just starting out and you have no idea what to post, I would go to ChatGPT. I would tell them exactly who you are and who you want to serve. And I would say, I am a 34-year-old realtor that wants to serve the parents of my closest friends. My hobbies are, and make it very detailed. Please tell me the top 5 searched things on Google for somebody that is downsizing. And then take those 5 things, and that's 5 pieces of content, and you have your ideas for a whole week or Monday through Friday. And so that's how I'm just always thinking about it. But when I was looking for inspiration, I would ask ChatGPT, what are people asking, or what are people searching around X topic? And then you take those and you answer them in the form of a reel or a carousel post or a static image with a long caption that is educational. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this well. You just have to work the muscle and do it over and over and over again.
So I kind of just wing it sometimes, to be honest. I do have time blocks in my calendar for my thinking time and my creating time. So I will plop ideas in there sometimes, but a lot of times I am just winging it. This morning I woke up with an idea. I already shot the video for it. I don't need to use it right away, but I just want to knock it out. So give me some specifics for our watchers who want to know, do you have a spreadsheet? Do you have a content calendar? How do you put all this into real action?
Yeah, so the Notes app, I have all sorts of running documents, and then I have a folder. Throughout the week, I'll just dump, dump, dump. And the things that I dump, one, if I'm on a walk, I walk every day. That's like my therapy. It's cheaper than therapy. But if I see a house that has a 0-step entry, that goes with my brand because I'm all about no steps. So I'll just take a B-roll video, save it into a file that says B-roll for Instagram. And then I have all these B-roll videos. So on the day that I don't know, and just to go all the way back to basics, B-roll is just a simple panning video of something. Nobody is in it, or people can be in it, but I'm not speaking, I'm not doing anything fancy. So I have one folder for B-roll. When I'm out and I'm inspired, I'll take a video. If I'm showing a home that's beautiful, I'll pan the kitchen, something like that. I have a whole folder of B-roll. Next, I have my client-driven content. So if a client sends me oh my gosh, thank you so much, or happy closing day, thank you, you've been so great, any sort of compliment or question from a client, I'm taking an actual screenshot. I'm not just copying and pasting the words, but I'm taking a screenshot of those text bubbles because those are my testimonial post. I don't like when people make in Canva, and I see it all the time. We make it in Canva and it looks perfect. My hypothesis is that if you take a screenshot of Gretchen, it was amazing what you did for our family. Thank you so much. That you gain people's trust much quicker because they say, oh, somebody else thought that. I can think that too, or I can trust her too. So I have a whole folder for client-driven content, and then I just have the brain dump folder. And that's questions people ask me, things in real estate news that I'm hearing, or hot topics, or things in the senior living space that I'm hearing. And then at the beginning of every month, I have a spreadsheet that just has the calendar for the month. And I am pulling other people's content that I love or that has performed well. I'm like, oh, wow, they have 1 million views. And then I'm dropping that in my calendar and pairing all those folders and then creating my own. I will say I mostly create on the day of organically. I don't use a scheduler or anything like that. And that, I think that's just my personal preference. I don't think there's any science behind it.
So what I'm hearing is it's okay to not have a perfect plan, like you said, and to use other people's stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. If you make it your own.
Right.
I did tell I am all about sharing, and that's what social media is. There's no original content on social
Right.
media.
Yeah.
But I did tell this woman, yeah, of course you could use my video. And then she screen recorded it and it was my actual video. And I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So that's a little awkward, but
Yeah. That's
yes.
Well, something I want to bring up that might be something that is happening for our viewers is you mentioned that your husband isn't all into all the video all the time. Let's talk about that a sec.
Yeah, so he is a naysayer in social media. He supports me in my business. He's a great husband, a great partner. But when it comes to social media, he thinks it's the most ridiculous thing ever. And a lot of people do. However, this professional dashboard here, where I track my statistics, I I don't feel like I have to justify anything to him. It's my business. But as like a partner that wants to um, enter into his strengths and his personality. He's a finance guy, very analytical. He loves data. So if I can say, babe, I know I was on my phone when we were having our date night on the couch, watching whatever basketball game. However, I only have 5,900 followers, but in the last 30 days, I've had 245,000 views. Like that gives him, oh,
Yeah.
that's a lot of times that you've been in front of people. And I've had 2,800 interactions. That's people actually taking action on my content.
Yeah.
And I have 144 new followers. So I can tell him these actual data points, and then he's supportive. Or that's another client-driven content. I have gotten referrals from people who just say, I've been following you. I'm working with a buyer right now, has nothing to do with the senior niche. She's a first-time home buyer and a nurse. I found you on Instagram. I've been following you for months and I'm finally ready to buy a house. You better believe I take a screenshot and send that to my husband and say, look, it's working. So I think if you are going to use social media as a lead gen avenue, you're not dismissed from knowing your numbers and tracking, but it doesn't have to be, it's not always the same as having a CRM open and typing in notes while you're on the phone. It just looks a little different, but you still have to keep keep your numbers in front of you.
Yeah, you need to know that the actions and activities you're doing actually is producing a positive result. Otherwise,
Right.
what's the point? So, Gretchen, I want to talk real quick about you got really clear on with your background and your experience and your life events that helped you see who it was that you wanted to help. And so that's, the senior group, as well as then the clarity on how you're going to message them, which was the social media, specifically Instagram. So you also have some other roles. You're a mom
Mhm.
and a wife and a daughter. And so chat with me about how do you fit all of that in to a normal week? What does it look like for you?
Yeah. So being aware of my weaknesses is a number one, and being mindful that it's awesome that my kids are seeing mommy work really hard. It's not awesome if this is all they ever see of mommy. And so my husband and I are very deliberate. We just bought one of those RO boxes, ARO. It gamifies the time you're off your screen by having a Bluetooth charging. You put it in a Bluetooth box and it tells you. So that's one thing. I set boundaries and I tell my clients, if you call me after 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll get back to you after 9 a.m. the next day because I have to do all my catch up before I jump in. And I used to be in healthcare. I have answered to codes. I have held people's hands as they were passing away. We're not saving lives in real estate. We are changing lives, but nothing is like so super time sensitive. And that has had to have been learned when I would say before my dad died, I would take a call any time of day, any time of night. And that's just not sustainable. So that's the number one thing that I do in my week to week is have parameters. Um, I would also say make social media content about it. One of my posts last year that had more views, more shares, more engagement was when I announced my summer hours, and I was so scared to do so. I was like, "Oh my gosh, nobody, I'm going to miss this client. They're not going to work with me because they can only." Now I have a showing partner, so that would be a third thing is find leverage that you can afford. You don't have to pay a showing partner a salary, but you can share your commission and have more margin to do X, Y, and Z. You don't have to have a director of operations, but you can have Instacart and not spend time going to the grocery store. So think about leverage for not just like what we read of in the MREA, but how can it apply to your business to give you margin to do the things you love and want to do? And I would say that's how I have built my weekly schedule. And then my business coach, we're really working on calendaring. That's a huge weakness of mine. So taking time every Saturday morning with a cup of coffee, looking at what the last week was like and what the week coming up has to hold. Those are ways that I keep it all together.
So you've had, say, I don't know, 8 years or so in business so far to kind of work through, and sometimes you weren't necessarily full on realtoring, but you've had years to kind of think about you and what success looks like to you. It feels like you have really narrowed in on that, which is awesome. But if you were speaking to your younger self, or maybe a younger in the business agent is watching and wanting to learn from you, they like how you're showing up and how you help so many families. What advice would you give them?
Ooh. So if you're familiar with the Enneagram, I am an Enneagram 3. I'm sure most of us realtors are. But I would say like for what? Like for what? If I we talked about production. I want to do more this year, but for what? Like what is the end game? And I think losing my dad has really zeroed in on the for what. And so now I'm very clear that the reason my husband and I want to generate 100K a year in investments, I will not call it passive income because our rental properties are not passive, but it is so that we can have the money for private education because that's what's important to us and not have to worry about working a day if we don't want to provide that. So like have the end in mind. The for what is my biggest, like my first few years of business, I just wanted to do more because why? I don't know, because it feels good, because it's a dopamine hit. That is not sustainable or healthy.
I like the for what. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Um, any last words or tips that you have that I just didn't ask you about?
Hmm. I would say open your ears to the senior conversation, even if you don't have a plan to go do lunch and learns at a senior living community. An example is an investor that I'm working with that builds Airbnbs in Branson, Missouri. He had no idea that if he could build his home on a slab with no steps to enter, that he would be increasing his renter pool tenfold because there are so few truly accessible rentals on the market. And who wants to travel? Older adults in retirement and people who are ill and want to get their bucket list checked off before they pass. Of course, families too, but you're minimizing yourself to a whole segment of the market from an investment standpoint, from a buyer's agent, seller's agent. So the senior knowledge, the accessibility housing knowledge is not just for nerds like me that love hanging out with 90-year-old women. It's for all of us in the real estate space, and it'll elevate your professionalism when you can speak to that conversation.
Such a great tip and so very true. We have Airbnbs and rental properties, and I get that question a lot. They'll message and say, "Are there steps?" And I'll say, unfortunately, there are, right?"
Mhm,
And so,
mhm,
what a brilliant idea. So, us as realtors, just knowing the inventory on our active MLS, like, here's a
mhm.
great home that would be great for anyone, and just explain what that looks like. Gretchen,
Yeah.
this has been so fun. I feel like we could chat all day, and maybe we'll get to do that another time. But tell everyone where they can find you, where to best follow you or get in touch.
Yeah, so I am a millennial and I do hang out on Instagram. So at Gretchen Kingma with an underscore because there's another Gretchen Kingma out there. So at Gretchen Kingma underscore or just Facebook Gretchen Kingma, Kingma.
Well, thank you for sharing all your good nuggets, and I'm so
Mhm.
excited to learn more from you.
Thanks so much, Jenny. Have a great day.
You too.